A short history of Saverton, Missouri, according to the Eichenberger papers. The land was here with rich soil, water in the creeks, and the mighty Mississippi. The prairie land was surrounding hills, woodland with wild animals, trees for beauty, and for cutting firewood and for log cabins. This was a wonderful spot in all of God's creation. Man came and made history. The first settlers were American Indians, probably of woodland tribes. Evidences of their occupation are shown by findings of arrowheads, pottery, fire pits, and especially along the creeks and the hillside north of the town of Saverton, on the grounds of the Camp Okeechobee, and the hillside known as present as the Eichenberger place. There were burial mounds on the bluff where their people were buried. Indians roamed the area, and also on the lower prairie where there was a salt spring. No one knows exactly when the first white man arrived, but it was probably a French trapper or explorer. Father Hennepin may have stopped on his exploration of the Mississippi in 1620. According to all early reports and maps, it was one of the rare flat prairies along the upper river and was given the name Little Prairie by the name it was designated on early maps and on government deeds up to the year 1819. McGowan in his History of Rawls County of 1878 reported, "The first settlement within the present limits of the county was made by French traders near the salt spring at Saverton. This post was doubtless established sometime during the last century, as only the ruins of their buildings were to be seen when the place was visited by Americans shortly after the beginning of the present century." Another historic place in the township is the site of Old Fort Mason. Bushels of Indian arrow points, axes, etc. have been found near this spot. Battles almost without number were fought near this fort by the early settlers and the Indians. Rawls County Herald Enterprise, January 6, 2000. This 235 acres of really Northeast Missouri history is one of the most unique farms you'll find. Little Prairie, as it was once known, which is now current-day Saverton, is home of the old Dalton House. The Dalton House sits on 235 acres of rolling hills on the Mississippi River in Northeast Missouri, an area steep in history from Native American camps and villages, French trappers and settlers, and eventually the famous riverboat captains and entrepreneurs that lived on this property. You've got a view of the river from all over on the farm. You've got beautiful rolling hills, a lot of options for an outdoorsman. If you're looking to have a really good hunting place, this would be a very good hunting place. A little land management, a little tweaking here and there, and you could have consistently really good deer hunting. If you're a fisherman, there's a lot of boat ramps located within 30 to 40 minutes. You're not very far from Mark Twain Lake, and you're very close to the Mississippi River. First boat ramp's going to be about 5 minutes downstream just by the lock. If you're a waterfowler, one of my favorite places to hunt is Ted Shanks, and you're just about 15 minutes from Ted Shanks. This is probably the top 2 or 3 places in the state of Missouri for waterfowl hunting. Beautiful place and always a fun place to hunt. 15 minutes from historical Hannibal, an hour and a half from St. Louis, this beautiful farm is perfectly located. Not only is this a great farm for an outdoorsman, but also someone seeking a farm that could be used as a winery, a horse farm, bed and breakfast, or an event center. Richard Dalton had been doing experimental work with the Stark brothers and saw the great possibilities in apples, especially in the Saverton area where he lived. He began to talk apples. Dalton was a leader, and when he talked, people listened. Great apple orchards planted up and down the Saverton hillsides, which seemed particularly suited to apple growing. In the Rawls County, Missouri history book by Howard, this house is a beautiful house, built in the early 1800s. Rawls County Herald Enterprise, January 6, 2000. It was built in 1818. It was built by Captain Carlisle. The joist rafters, etc., which were hewn by Solomon Fisher, grandfather of the junior editor of the Times. The finished lumber, siding, etc. was brought from the Ohio River by boat. The finish on the front part of the house is yellow poplar, and the siding walnut. The doors, mantels, etc. are white pine and handmade. The rooms are large, and there is a fireplace in each of them, upstairs and down. Captain Carlisle, who had the house built, ran the first regular steamboat up the Mississippi in 1819. The late Philip West was a stepson of Captain Carlisle. After the death of Captain Carlisle, his widow married Captain Cameron, another noted steamboat man. And after his and his wife's death, the place went to Philip West, from whom Colonel Dalton bought it. The house itself is very nice. It's been well kept ever since it was built. Every room is just really neat. When you have that old wood, old doorknobs, old doors, there's just kind of a really old school charm that comes with a house like this. And you know, a lot of history, a lot of important people have lived in this house for the last 200 years. And you know, it's just cool. What an absolutely unique place. If you're looking for something that's just a little out of the ordinary, this is probably the farm for you. 235 acres of rolling hills along the Mississippi River. A beautiful house, historical land, historical buildings, all types of Northeast Missouri history and American history.